Joining me live this morning at a hub in Fairfield Showground is Chris Mintz. He's the New South Wales opposition leader. We'll get to the vaccines and what people need in that area at the moment. But are you on board with New South Wales government seemingly abandoning this zero COVID target?
Well, look, they haven't been clear about their intentions in relation to that, Laura. I mean, there's been some suggestions that if vaccination rates hit certain percentages, more freedoms will be introduced into Sydney and New South Wales. I think they should publish what that means. I mean, it's a very difficult time for millions of people that live in Australia's biggest city. If there's certain milestones that are going to be hit, we'd like to know what restrictions will be lifted. I think it would add some hope to what is a pretty desperate situation for millions of people.
Well, that's what Gladys Berejiklian is trying to do, isn't she? She's saying 6 million vaccines in arms by the end of August and you can have more freedom. What do you think realistically could be eased? There could be some things, couldn't there?
Yeah, there could be, but it's unclear what that would be. And obviously a roadmap to what sort of freedoms we can expect by the end of August is important. Now, that doesn't mean the New South Wales opposition or anybody in the state is going to throw eggs at the government if we don't meet those milestones or if the timetable changes. At the end of the day, people are pretty realistic about how difficult the situation is. But I think that rather than a dripping of or leaks or a drip of information about what is possible, let's see the roadmap for the next couple of months. Let's explain to the people in New South Wales what's at stake. I think that's the way to speak up to people of Sydney in particular, give them some hope through what has been a pretty terrible 6 weeks so far.
Yeah, indeed it has. What do you think about keeping some LGAs locked down but freeing others that don't have any COVID?
Well, look, obviously there's been a difference between the restrictions that have been placed in particular for the 8 LGAs, and that's why I'm here today with the local members of Parliament, Hugh McDermott, Nick Lulich and Guy Zangari, to see firsthand what the impact is on the economy, what the impact is on frontline health workers. Laura, I don't think you can have a situation where half of Sydney, for example, is lifted out of restrictions and there's some imaginary line that crosses west from east and the rest of Sydney is still in severe restrictions. I don't think from a health point of view that would work.
Why not?
And
because this is essentially a ring of steel, right?
Because ultimately it would just be an imaginary line in the sands stretching between eastern Sydney and western Sydney. And to be fair to the government, I don't think that that's their intentions. The Premier yesterday at a media conference signalled that that would not be the way that they're going to approach the pandemic. And you have to think about the future implications for the economy in Western Sydney, what it would mean for people, you know, millions of people that are going through a very difficult period, particularly for the 8 LGAs that have been in a more restrictive and severe lockdown for the last 6 weeks than the rest of Sydney.
What are you doing there today?
So I'm hearing from frontline workers, from businesses, from local MPs about the impact of the lockdown on their communities. These people haven't been able to move 5 kilometres. I'm one of them, actually. I live in one of those affected LGAs. Haven't been able to move 5 kilometres from their house if they're not an essential worker, and in particular the construction sector. So many businesses have been speaking to me and my local MPs about the fact that once restrictions were eased for part of Sydney, construction workers and tradies came in and took a lot of work from Western Sydney-based businesses. Now, in many ways that couldn't have been avoided, but it does mean we're going to need a comprehensive economic package for the 8 LGAs, now 9 LGAs in Western Sydney. We cannot leave them behind once the lockdown's lifted and Sydney returns to normal.
Okay, we'll speak to you soon, get some ideas about what that might require post-lockdown. Thanks so much for your time.
Thanks, Laura. Appreciate it.